Well, boys, tell you what, this has come around really quick, hasn't it? It feels like it feels like we were only on this show a week ago.
6 days ago, yeah.
No, it has just come out really quick, but no, I've really been looking forward to this show, lads. But how are we all? We all okay?
Yeah,
Chris. Grand, yeah.
Actually, for me, it seems like ages since I've been on. It's just, maybe because we had like so many shows all last week.
Yeah, last week we had a rake of shows. Yeah, it's nice to take a week off, Daz. I'm like you. Down the country for a week, so it's been great to do nothing.
Nothing but jobs and a few day trips for me.
Yeah, jobs and day trips, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've been out and about, haven't you, Daz?
Yeah, been out and about. Check out Tato Park if anyone is over in Ireland. Check it out sometime. It's pretty good. Okay.
That's only, you have to do a day trip. That's only 15 minutes from my house.
Is it? Yeah, it takes me 2 hours. 2 hours. And I'm going again tomorrow, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Going again tomorrow. I am.
Run out of crisps.
All right, let's talk shop here. And I think we're all a bit not so much has happened. We're waiting for something to happen. We're waiting for some breaking news.
Yeah.
I actually have posters ready for that breaking news, but it's not coming fast enough. So are we feeling a bit negative? Do we need some positivity in our lives? I think there's one man that could give us that positivity. But first of all, I have to ask him a very important question. So I'll bring him on. I won't even say hello to him. I'll just ask him, what day is it?
Good evening, chaps. It's Friday.
And that's him. That's Mr. Positivity. So he will be back at the end of the show. We'll bring him on again at the end of the show. But so thanks for that, Stu.
It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. Woo! It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. Woo!
Yes, I didn't get to change it this week. No time to change it. And as you can see, the zebra is still alive. It's not dead yet. And speaking of the positivity, let's get him back and let's give him a proper welcome this time. Let's bring back Stu. Welcome, Stu.
Hello, how are you? All right, lads.
All good, matey. All good.
So, welcome to Loaded Mag, Stu.
Thanks a lot.
So yeah, as we were kind of saying in the intro there, where just there's a lot of negativity around. There's a lot of anticipation. Will we get to break a Loaded Maggie exclusive and bring in Joe Willock? I think let's start there. There's a few topics we could start with, but let's start there. So what's people's thoughts? I think he's definitely coming. It's just a matter of time. I don't mind if it's the permanent deal or loan. I just want him there. I think all our transfer window is all built around getting Willock in and then doing the rest of our business. And I think they're kind of snookered and doing anything else until they know that he's over the line, to borrow an old phrase. So I'm going to go to you first, Stu. What's your thoughts?
Well, I know he's in Newcastle, so that's a good start. So whether he's here for a stag do, or sorry, in Newcastle for a stag do, or signing for Sunderland, or collecting some old clothes, he's definitely in Newcastle. So with a bit of luck, he'll be announced tomorrow, I would suggest. And that puts us back to where we finished the season, apart from the deadwood we've managed to get rid of. So some positivity, it's a step in the right direction. There's plenty more steps to go, but that's until it's confirmed, nothing's certain in the crazy world of Newcastle United, is it? But the fact that he's in Newcastle, the fact that he's coming for some strange reason, he wants to come, and he wants to sign for us, then it's all good so far.
Nice one. In there straight away with a bit of positivity, Stu. I like it. We should have a running total of these positive notes. Martin, let's go to you next.
Yeah, I'm with the fella below me there on the screen. To be fair, he texted me this afternoon, and he said, "What do we want to talk about?" And I said, "Well, normally I just kind of wing it," and I kind of clipped your picture, Daz, and said, "Here's Daz's itinerary of topics. He may go in sequence or he may not, but we probably will talk about Willock and everything else." And Stu said to me, "Have a little bird who's been talking." And I have a little bit of positivity for you later on. So I will stick with my man, Mr. Penman, and I firmly believe that our good friend, Mr. Joe Willock, is in Newcastle this evening, and I think we will see something this weekend. So I'm going with that positive trait, and I think we'll see Willock on a permanent deal, not a loan, on a permanent deal, and I think that's what we will see before the end of the weekend.
Nice, and of course that'd leave up some more loan spaces as well, so that's all good. Richie, your thoughts?
Got to agree with positive Penman. I believe Willock will be named over the weekend as well. So I think it's just what I would like to do now is just move on to where we're going to strengthen, as Stu said. That leaves us where we were at the end of last season. We haven't really built on it from there. So I think once that's over, we need to focus on other recruits because we have let a few go. The one that left that I probably would have liked to have held on to was Lejeune, but obviously Bruce doesn't like him for whatever reason. But so we've still got space in the squad. We've got a bit of wages that off the books, so we've got a little bit to play with that way to bring people in. So let's just see. But we do need to get a couple more faces and strengthen the squad.
That's Rich. Over to you, Chris.
Do you know what? I think Stu makes a really good point in the fact that, if we do get Willock, which we're all hoping that we do, obviously, it does feel like we're being robbed a little bit, because if we do get Willock, we're still, 3 or 4 players down, because obviously we've trimmed the squad a bit. And obviously, we're all really grateful to get Joe Willock if we do get him. But that really should be the start of it, shouldn't it? I think we probably still need another 3 or 4 players. Whether we'll get them or not, I don't know. I hope we do. And central midfield is my biggest concern in the forthcoming season. We need to make sure that central midfield spot is sorted out, because as it stands, having the central midfield options of Hendrick, Shelvey and Hayden, it's just not good enough. So bringing Joe Willock in is obviously a big move. I know we've got Sean Longstaff and Matty Longstaff, but they seem to be on the fringes, and I think Matty's probably going to be outgoing. If we manage to get another central midfielder in, I think we'll definitely see Matty Longstaff go out on loan. But yeah, positive move. Again, if it's a permanent deal, that'll be good, because it means that we've still got 2 free loan spots. I know we've been linked with Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well. And obviously you can't loan 2 players from the same club. So if Willock is a loan deal, then we can scratch Maitland-Niles off that list. But let's see what happens. But yeah, it's everyone getting excited, and we are getting excited because we're the only Premier League club to not make a signing. But we need to also remember that really, as Stu rightly said, we're kind of back to square one once we sign Willock. So it's then what we do after that for me.
Nice one, Chris. Just when you mentioned the Longstaff brothers there as well, I saw something about Sean Longstaff linked to Everton, of course, potentially linking up with Rafa. But speaking
Tom Davis, mate.
Yeah. I'd rather Tom Dixon. All right, Tom, if you're listening or watching on playback.
Yes, Tom.
Okay, let me go. Yeah, that's still linking in with Rafa, and I know we don't like to talk about Rafa anymore, but let's talk about Rondon, because I know about a week and a half ago, Pete and myself and a few more of us on the chat were talking about Rondon linking up with Rafa at Everton, and we're saying that he'd be a good backup striker for Calvert-Lewin, and I suppose Richarlison up front for Everton. And but yeah, now he's there's talk of him that we might get him ourselves, and I think it's muted that it could be a free transfer. If so, that'd be one I'd love to see. I know, Martin, we were just talking about it off air before. Come on, so let's go to Stu again. We'll stick with you, Stu. Would you like to see Rondon back? Just when myself and Martin were talking, we were saying that just remember the days when he'd hold up the ball really well. Imagine that, holding up the ball for Wilson. Wilson will finish. It'd be exciting stuff.
Oh, definitely, I'd love to see Rondon come back, even if it's just for one season. I think that the season he had with us, he was immense, wasn't he? Once he got his pace, match fitness and everything, like you said quite rightly, he held the ball up well. He was a great foil for speedy people either side of him, which was like Perez and Almiron. And I think because Wilson's strong for his size as well, and it would give defenders more things to think about. Because at the moment, it's the tactics just seem to be given to ASM and see what he can do. There's this, to me, it's a bit disjointed. But with Rondon, you can actually formulate a forward plan. And with under the guise of our coach, Mr. Graham Jones, I think he could be perfect for this, at least for one season anyway. Or even just cover, if they've got they know how they want to set up similar to the end of last season. He'd be great cover because we both know that the two lads who are out injured at the moment, Wilson and St. Maximin, they are injury prone. So throw him in, and we've got cover that's not just the cover for the sake of it. You've got someone who's capable as well, and that's important. You can have. We just talked about how we've got rid of a lot of dead wood to free up these spaces. There's no point in bringing people in just for the sake of it. The idea of the pre-season, we hear how awkward January is or difficult January is. The idea of pre-season is to improve on your squad, not just fill the blanks up. And typically of Newcastle, they do the business late. Now, the teams who do the business early seem to be the ones who prosper quicker as well. But I have a feeling that we could have one or two more signings before the season kicks off. How about that?
Nice one. That's two positivity notes for Stu, and that links in nicely. Just before we come to Martin, to Yano's comment. This is the only channel that doesn't come with the Samaritans warning. Nice to have some optimism. So we put that down to Stu. Really for tonight. Martin,
I'll put it down to vodka.
As I said beforehand, I'm on the old school hooch for anyone that remembers it.
They're fabulous.
Yeah,
fabulous stuff.
Bad drink. Look, I think a lot of Newcastle's business is hinged around Willock. And I think, I was out walking today and I listened to Steve's show with Liam midweek. And I think Liam Kennedy made a very good point, which is Newcastle probably have a heap load of plates spinning at the moment. We always do our business late. That's fact. Ashley's probably not going to do anything spectacular. He's not going to go out, and pump a shitload of money into it because he doesn't have to. So I think a lot of our business will certainly hinge around the Willock deal. If it's a permanent deal, as we think it possibly is, then I think you'll see probably another two signings coming in. Me personally, I'd love to see Rondon back, but I'd also like to see them go off to Barkley and just solidify that midfield. Do we need another, energetic, athletic defender? Probably. Most people that watch this show know my feelings on Lascelles. I think getting rid of Lejeune was a mistake. That said that a few weeks back. Chips, yeah, he's not giving up the old Shawshank thing.
No, he won't give up.
He's got something. He's definitely got something about prisons, but I think it's prison showers. I'm not sure. But
he's birthday this week as well. You think it might have matured a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. No, he definitely hasn't matured.
He's got a fascination with you and showers.
He does. Yeah, he's definitely got a fascination with me and Shawshank. He thinks I look like the warden, but anyway, I know. Fucking don't even ask. But it's the last time I go on the Horseman. But I think we'll see a bit more. But it was interesting, the comments. One of Liam's comments towards the back end, and obviously we are chasing. Not that we've advertised yet, but we are hoping to have Liam back on within the next couple of weeks. We are currently in negotiations, but as he said, like even if Newcastle have a disastrous season, okay, we don't know where the takeover is, and we'll talk about that in a while. But even if Newcastle go down again, okay, it's a slight problem, but it's a drop in the ocean to Ashley. All he does is the same he did the last two, is he pumps a little bit of cash into it, gets us back up within 2 years, problem solved. It's not an issue to him. So I don't know, we tend to worry about going down and everything else, but like Ashley will it's rinse and repeat. And after 14 years, we should really be used to what happens and how Ashley operates. So for me, I think, transfer window, when it opens, I don't tend to get excited because it's always lastminute.com. And even from a point of it being the last week before the first game, that's not when the window shuts. So I would not be surprised to see, I think, as we said, we should hopefully see Willock this weekend, which is a good start. As Stu said, that stands us still. That's not getting us forward. But I think
Martin, can I just add there? Sorry, mate.
Yeah, go on, mate.
I'll say when Willock does sign, he's already integrated with his squad anyway. Yeah. So if we start how we finished last season, I don't think there can be too many complaints with the results and the performances generally we had for the last 10 games.
Yeah.
It's who we add to that for when injuries come. So Willock will be a massive boost because he knows the training, he knows the setup, he knows the team plans and everything else. So I think it's imperative that he gets done and dusted. And like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if he's announced tomorrow before the Norwich game. That's just like my personal belief anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean that would be great, but I think we do. You're right. I mean, you look at Gale. Is Gale a backup to Wilson? Not really. People, us included, spent a good chunk of time berating Joe Linton, but I have to say, from March, April last season, I thought he really played well. The back end, he's had a good pre-season, so I'm quite looking forward. And I know that sounds very hypocritical, but I'm quite looking forward to seeing what Joe Linton can do now that the number 9 is gone from him and he's playing that little bit more, in his kind of left-hand sided role. I think he could have a good season. I think he could be, unfortunately, he could be one of our pivotal players. But, there's enough talent in that squad to stay up. And if we get Willock and we can add 1 or 2, I think we'll be fine. But, it's got to be the right system. And Daz, we were talking about this pre-coming on air. You need Fraser to have a good season. But if we play the same formation as we played last season, where does Fraser fit into that? Where do you play Willock? How do you set up? Do you go with a front two? If you got Rondon, do you switch to 4-4-2?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So
sorry, Martin. I just shout out to Paul to review. I put my Love Island background on when Paul comes on.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Actually, you would look the part on that, Daz. I think if it was dads and older people on it.
Dads and old people.
Love Island.
Thanks, Martin. I'll take that as a compliment.
But yeah, I think if we get the couple of players, then I think we probably need to be in a position to have maybe 2 or 3 different systems of play, depending on where we go to this season. Because I think Fraser, where you slot him in as a winger. Joe Linton, where do you play Miggy? Do you play ASM in behind Wilson? If you get Rondon, do you go 4-4-2? Where do you put Willock? So it's great to have those problems, I guess, as to where do you play them. I suppose the biggest worry for me is the fact that Jones is there, but it's left to a fuckwit like Bruce to decide that. And at the minute, he's playing his whatever it is, 5-3-2, fucking 1 or whatever he plays. Like, where do we need Fraser to have a good season? He's looked all right pre-season, but where do you play him? If we continue to play that formation that we're playing, where do you put these players? So that's the only thing for me I want to see.
Yeah, get another striker in like Rondon, and then you could go to 4-4-2 and mix it up, depending on the game and depending on how a game is going. Good to have options. Richie, your thoughts on Rondon?
I'm back in a heartbeat. I thought he was exceptional the season he had it with us, as Stuart mentioned before. Because he was such a strong player holding the ball, it created the space for the people surrounding him. Perez had a fantastic season, part of the front with him, and I believe that with some of the players that we've got now, I think Rondon will be a fantastic foil to them as well, because we've got lots of players with pace around them. If you want an alternative to Wilson or even to play alongside Wilson up front. So yeah, I'd have him back in a heartbeat, especially if it's on a free, because they can't, Darley can't afford his wages anymore due to COVID. So that would be a bargain, in my opinion. Regarding of the signings that you were going on about, I think we also need a right wing back. So I don't think we've got anyone who can cover Murphy if he's adamant on playing in this system. Who could play as a right wing back? I also think we need another centre half, and I think we need a leader. And obviously, with money being tight, I think what could be a good buy for a season or two might be someone like Gary Cahill, who's got experience in that sort of role. You know, he's been in the Premier League winning team, Champions League winning team, and he could bring a lot of leadership to that back line. He could be, form a part of a new spine at the back there. So that's something I would possibly look at as well. But regarding we were talking about systems as well. One of the things I always said last year, and I was in agreement with Liam Kennedy when we talked about this, was I always think that our best attacking formation is 4-2-3-1. Always thought Wilson was best up top. Fraser out wide, Miggy behind him. Obviously, that's probably going to be more of a Willock role now, with ASM on the left. I just think that front four, if they're all on fire, would cause havoc to a lot of Premier League defences. Pace in there, movement, the strength of Wilson up front. I just think it's an absolute. I think the one thing is, he's turned around and he's picking formations to what we're good at defensively, but sometimes we need to be picking a team on with the players we've got. And I think that's with those. Fraser, to me, in my opinion, I've said this before on the show. Fraser is the way he started pre-season, the way he finished, whether he was playing for Scotland at the end of last season. To me, he's like another new signing because we never saw the best of him last year. We saw the worst of him in the Sheffield United game, and I don't think anyone would like to see the same Fraser this season. But if now he's got that, obviously he's got the relationship with Wilson, he's got a bit more confidence about him. He's playing it better in pre-season, and it could be a brand new signing for us. Him and ASM on either flank of either side, even if you go on a 4-3-3. That I just think he's perfect on the right-hand side. That connection he's got with Wilson from the Bournemouth days, I just think he'd be a complete new signing for us and could bring us so much more going forward.
Nice switch. Chris?
Do you know what, mate? I could talk about this for about half an hour. I've just been listening to all yous then and dying to jump in, but I didn't want to interrupt. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Like, to start with Rondon, yeah, absolutely, I'd take him. I mean, if you had Rondon on the pitch alongside Wilson, I think that'd be fantastic. But even if you had him coming off the bench, what an option. Or if Wilson, touch wood, gets injured, having somebody like Rondon to come in and replace him would be great. And the advantage that we got with Rondon, I know we built up that relationship, didn't he, with Rafa, but I think he was more attached to the club and the fans. So I think if it was a straight shootout between Everton and Newcastle, I do actually think he'd come back to Newcastle. So with that works in our favour. In terms of the formation, I never thought I'd say this, but I agree with Richie. I don't mean that, by the way. I always agree with Richie.
I never thought you'd say that.
What I mean is, I agree with Richie that 4-2-3-1 probably suits our attacking players the most. But in terms of defence, and this is what I'd never thought I'd say, I do actually think we should start with 5 at the back. And the reason for that is I don't think we've got natural left backs and right backs. I think Lewis will be a natural left back, but at the moment, I don't think he's being coached appropriately. And I think having him as wing back, it takes the pressure off him a little bit defensively and going forwards. We want to see him go forward because he's got the pace. We've got Jacob Murphy filling in at right wing back, who's done fantastically well. And, I've seen him pre-season. He's probably been one of our better players along with Fraser. But I don't see him as a right back. So that's my only concern with playing 4 at the back. I mean, if we have Manquillo on the right, that would probably be okay. And if we had Richie playing left back, again, probably okay. But as soon as you come up against decent wingers, I think we get found out. And only having 2 at the back, Martin, you'll know this. Having Lascelles in a 2 at the back is just not an option. Lascelles need players around him. Exactly. Same with Shah. Shah needs players around him. So I think defensively, we need the 5 at the back. Now, based on what Graham Jones, and I'm going to say Graham Jones because I believe it's him, based on Graham Jones, he tends to play a 5-3-2 with the split strikers going either side. Or he'll play 5-2-3 and he'll play Wilson up top on his own with the 2 wingers. Now, obviously, that would complement St. Maximin on the left, maybe Fraser on the right, but then you've got to try and fit Miggy in. Now, Willock was playing in a deep line role, so I'd be tempted to maybe play 5-3-2 and have a holding midfielder, which is what we need to buy. I know Hayden plays holding midfield, but I'm not all that big a fan of Hayden. I think he's the best of a bad bunch in a holding midfield slot, if I'm honest. But having someone like Joe Willock breaking from deep, and also St. Maximin breaking from deep, I'd quite like to see that. That's the only thing with playing St. Maximin high up the field. My concern with that is you lose that energy, because I remember St. Maximin was playing further back. I think it was in the 4-2-3-1, and he was playing slightly further back, and he was breaking from the centre of midfield and running at the defence, and he was picking up free kicks. He was making defenders work for it. Whereas when you're playing St. Maximin as one of the two split strikers, you lose that. He'll carry you 30, 40 yards up the pitch, and you lose that. So I would like to see St. Maximin dropping a bit. There's no real right answer to this. I've probably gone round the houses there, but I'm like Martin. I'm pleased excited to see Joe Linton as well. I think he really came on at the back end of last season, and hopefully he could maybe be one of the two split strikers with Callum Wilson up front. He's not an out-and-out striker. He's not a number 10. He's not really a winger either. So to have him, the one thing you'll get out of Joe Linton, though, well, we saw at the back end of the season anyway, is you'll get a bit of work rate out of him, and he will put himself about.
Sorry.
Only at the back end. Only at the back end, Stu, I'll say that. But we didn't see that at the start, but I think his confidence was building, and we're actually starting to see a little bit from him. And obviously pre-season he's got his goal. So it'd be good to see, this Joe Linton that we're seeing recently, and maybe having that number 9 shirt taken off him as, kind of taking a weight off his shoulders. I don't know. But who knows? But yeah, there's lots of things to think about. But we'll for me, the biggest one is I'd like to see that defensive midfielder come in. And I know Chowdhury's been linked. We were linked with Conor Gallagher, who's I think gone to Palace. But in terms of Gary Cahill, like Richie's just said, I think Gary Cahill for the season, I don't see why not. It's not like we've got this big bank balance that we've got burning in our pocket, burning a hole in the pocket. So bringing someone like him in for the season and just giving you that little bit of squad depth and also that leadership, I think that'd be a good move.
Nice, Chris. Cheers. You've touched on a few things there that can link. No, it's good. It's a good link in. Richie mentioned as well the leadership, and let's talk about the captain for next season. Okay, because you mentioned Lascelles, and I know Martin said not my captain. So that's the quotes from Callum Wilson this week. He's talking like a captain. He's going to give St. Maximin a kick up the backside if he needs it as well. And what else? He's also firmly pointing the finger at Graham Jones as being the tactician, and things changing a bit when he came in. What else did he say? Yeah, and just on the takeover, he says, that they're all aware of it. It's hanging over them. But yeah, what's your thoughts? And just we'll leave the takeover for a while on just the captain and just kind of the comments from Wilson this week. And we'll go to you again, Stu.
Well, do you know what it was, to me, what it was reminiscent of? It was when Lascelles had his outburst at the time, when things weren't going well, and there was like people had down tools in the dressing room, and he spoke up. And it seemed that's what we want as fans, a bit of heart and a bit of passion, a bit of desire. And it seemed to galvanise him at the time, spur him on to become a better player. Actually got replaced in the team because he wasn't a regular player at the time. And Wilson, to be fair, I think he's a model professional. His work rate is exemplary. His touch, his finishing. But my personal opinion is, I call it old school, but I think the captain should be centre half. Now, I know Martin's not a big fan of Lascelles, and I'm not saying Lascelles should be in the team, but if he is in the team, that's just my opinion. Whether it's him or not, the captain should be like centre half, where they've got the player in front of them that can start dictating it, but you have to be a bit more vocal and more back to the Kilcline days. And even Colaccini was quiet or quieter. You could lead it by there. Now, I know Shearer was a bit different, but to me, even go back to primary school, to me, the captain should be centre half. But there's two questions when I've been watching the shows I've always wanted to know throughout the summer. And the first one is Richie's beard stuck on? Because he's always playing with it. It's like a fascination with it. And I get, honestly, when I'm watching, I get engrossed with it. And I was like, oh, yeah. It's not a fetish, Richie, don't worry, mate. But I'm just like, wow.
It's all right.
It's
It's all right. Chris listens to us in the shower, so it's all right.
No, that's fair enough. And well, the other one was about Chris. Are you going to be? Was that his beard? The breaking news.
Yeah, no,
That wasn't
not
me.
a fetish. That is the breaking news. It's not.
Right. The other question was, well, basically for you two lads and them, really, will you be doing the show earlier as the winter nights draw in?
It depends what the rest of the hobbits in the villages are doing. But
The reason being is because you won't be able to see Chris all soon because he obviously saves on electricity, and just and you've got a little bit of sunlight there in the window, but it's going to get the nights are drawing in, aren't they? So give it a month or so, and it's going to be darker this time.
Do you know what, Stu? Right, for the next show, I'll put it on for you. Do you know what? We got spotlights in the room, and you know when to turn it on? It's like ridiculous. It's like
too bright.
Right,
yeah. So I've got a little lamp.
No,
and
the bed revolves as well.
I'm going to have to go and do it now, aren't I?
Yeah. You talked it up because if you switch these on and it looks shit now, you're going to get ridiculed.
I know, but you can open the curtains, but the burglars will know he's in.
Oh, that's not so bad.
See, I miss the leopard skin, wallpaper he used to have.
No,
and press the button, Chris, where the bed revolves. Press that one now.
It's not that. It's just the position of the spotlights because they had to make room for the mirror.
It's on the ceiling, isn't it? Dear me.
What were we talking about?
It was Richie's beard to start with. I'm still engrossed with it.
Richie, we're nominating Richie as captain for this season. Nice one.
Yeah, centre half to me.
Centre half, Stu. Martin.
Listen, I bitch about Lascelles non-stop, and all last season I said the same thing. Not my captain. Do you know what? I don't dislike the lad, but if you're captain, be a captain. And there was too many times for me last season where we were getting trounced or we were getting outplayed. And I want to see my captain be a fucking shithouse. I want to see him getting in the ref's face. I want to see him G'ing up the players and grabbing hold of Shelby's shirt and going, cop yourself on, get stuck in. Like that for me is what I want to see from the captain. I want to see that drive and that passion on the pitch, because at the end of the day, okay, you can have Jones, you can have, Captain Kebab on the sidelines and the rest of them, right? The three amigos, not the four amigos, the other three amigos, the Steves, Clements and the rest of the clowns, right? But I just want Lascelles to have that passion, and if he has it, and he's, like, we've got to be the worst team ever for a little bit of shithousery. There's none. There's just none. Like, we should be crying out about every foul the same as Fernandez and Man United do. We should have a player that goes over as many times as Grealish does. The amount of times that an ASM gets clipped and we get nothing from it. But like, if that's Man United, you've got and Fernandez gets a tap on the shin, you've got 5 or 6 Man United players plus Harry Maguire in the ref's face. And I just think we missed that last season. I'm not saying, I want a team of cheats, but I just want my captain to not be afraid to mix it up, not be afraid to tell someone on that 11 that they're shite that game, and be pointing at the manager and saying, listen, you need to swap this guy out. You need to do whatever. Because Shearer would have had no hesitation in pulling those players up. And if you go back to the team of the entertainers, you had 11 on that pitch that were leaders. And now, last season we had none. And the only reason we got a change of fortunes and we started to come together was when Richie went back into that team last season, because he didn't give a shit about bollocking players out of it, pointing, getting in the ref's face, a little bit of shithousery, dropping for an odd foul. And I just think, like, every other team in the Premier League's doing it, and we sit back. And I don't dislike Lascelles, but I want him to be a captain, and I want to see him lead, and I want to see him pull players, and I want to see him do the things that I expect a captain in a black and white shirt.
He's capable of it, Martin. He's capable. That's the frustrating thing.
That's the thing. That is exactly the thing, Stu. When Rafa was there and he was guiding him, he was absolute quality. and I will be the first one to admit that. But since Rafa's gone, the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, he's fucking regressed massively. Massively. And that when you don't have that captain in a team, when listen, we get into the season and we get tonked off West Ham, and we then in the next 6-7 games have some dire results, which is possible. Hopefully it's not, but it's possible. That team goes into its shell and it stagnates. So I just if he's going to be captain, and he is captain, and then you got vice captain in Shelvey, God help us, be the fucking captain. Stand up for the club, put that shirt on and have some pride in it, and go at it. That's all I want.
Cheers, Martin. I know a few people have mentioned a few others like Richie, Fernandez,
If not, Megan Wilson.
Dubravka. I will throw Hayden in there as well as an option. Yeah, maybe he's not the too much of a nice guy as well, and he wouldn't get in people's faces. But I'd throw him in there as an option as a captain. Richie, any thoughts yourself, captain?
I think
apart from yourself,
apart from themselves, the only one that's got that characteristic that you need, and Mark mentioned it before, and I've said it before, Richie. And the only problem is he's not even guaranteed a place in the first 11, really, and that's the disappointing thing. As both Stu and Martin have said, if we had the Lascelles that was under Rafa, we would be having this conversation. Lascelles seemed to have that extra belief, that confidence. It was because he had the trust of Rafa. And Martin's just said he's regressed so much under Bruce. The whole first team squad's regressed under Bruce, not just Lascelles. It's as though no one's got any confidence coming down from the management anymore. The one thing you should always do is have confidence in your players, and it just seems to be that a lot of our players don't have the confidence of the manager, and I think that reflects on the pitch as well. Sometimes they're too scared to make a forward pass, and that's why we see a lot of the sideway passes, the backward passes, because they're too scared to make a mistake, try to create something. And so if you want that old school sort of captain, the only one that shows it every time he plays is Matt Ritchie. The only problem is, as I've mentioned already, he's not guaranteed the starting part of the starting lineup. But I do agree with Stu. You do need to have a captain from the back of the pitch that can see everything that's going on. Obviously with Alan Shearer was, unique in that, so he led from the front, but he wasn't afraid to bollock someone if they weren't delivering what needed to be expected to wear the black and white shirt. But the forwards we've got now, there's too many of them obviously make runs in behind them, so they don't always see what's going on behind them sometimes. But I would say definitely centre half. But the problem is we haven't really got a centre half that can deliver that, unfortunately.
Cheers, Richie. Chris.
Yeah, see, I'm going to disagree with you there, Rich. I think Fernandez should be captain. Now, Wilson's come out, hasn't he, and said all that. And to be fair, I didn't know he had that kind of in his locker. But maybe Wilson would be a good captain. But I take Stu's point that you kind of want someone at the back, to kind of see the whole pitch and shout those orders out. And I think this is something that Steve Hasty said, and I've heard Lee Clark say as well. You need somebody who's behind the central midfield, especially the likes of Shelvey, and saying to him, push out. And it's already been documented that apparently Lascelles pulls Shelvey towards him, and it's like a confidence thing. Rather than pushing him out and saying, get up the field, we don't need you back here. And Shelvey constantly tries to either come back and sit, or, play like that quarterback role that people talk about, or which Bruce has started doing recently because he doesn't want to take Shelvey off. He ends up putting Shelvey at centre-back because he probably thinks, well, he spends half his time fucking there anyway, so we may as well just put him on. But it kind of takes me back to, like the Liverpool of old. So, when Liverpool had Gerrard, and then when Gerrard was out, Carragher was there. And I remember watching games and you could hear Carragher's squeaky voice, but he was screaming on the pitch. And you thought to yourself, if you do something wrong, or if you aren't pulling your weight, you're going to have someone screaming at you. And you could even hear him above the fans. But that's what you need. You need somebody who's going to lead the team, and someone who's not afraid to speak out and say, you're not pulling your weight, or come on, get a grip. You need to start, trying, or you need to put more effort in, and that's what we're lacking at the moment. I did see Lascelles doing that, and I loved it when he came out, like Stu mentioned before, after during that season, and he came out and he stood out and put his head above the parapet, as is a saying that we often use. But we need that leader on the pitch, and Matt Ritchie is the most likely candidate. But again, it's because he's not a regular starter. Your captain has to start every game, and that's probably why Ritchie hasn't had the captaincy. And I'm sure I've read somewhere that Ritchie said he didn't want the captaincy. So I don't know. The trouble is, I suppose you probably do have to pick an existing squad player, because it is quite odd if you bring in a player and then make him captain, because that can cause unrest within the dressing room. So for me, if we were going to have a new captain going forward this year, I'd go with Fernandez and maybe put Lascelles as vice and just say, listen, you concentrate on your game and let Feddy sort it out, because with Lascelles, I'm not a big fan of him as a centre-back. I used to think he needed to be in the team for his leadership skills, but I'm not even seeing that now. So that's why, like Martin, I'm questioning his position in the team full stop.
Cheers, Chris. So I'm going to give another point to Stu there for the comment towards Ritchie and the beard. That's another positive. So 3 from 3 from Stu.
Thanks.
So let's go for number 4, and we'll link it into. I haven't forgot about your question here, Mark. It's all about the takeover. So, in general, Stewie, what is your thoughts on the takeover? You can bring Mark's question into it as well if you wish. But are you still thumbs up positive, or are you on the negative trail?
Well, I think anyone would be a fool to say that it's hit a little bump in the road, but I don't understand the huge wave of pessimism that's happened over the last week or so. I mean, if we take a step back, and I know we're all hugely emotionally invested in this as well, and it has been stressful for a lot of people. It really has been stressful. But what's realistically happened? We all know that the Premier League, if we look on the positive sides, which I'll try and put across to you, we know that the Premier League are delaying and trying everything they can to delay. We all know that the catch, if it went first and it was made public, it would embarrass the Premier League to the point where I think they would just say, okay, you can have your takeover now. So they put arbitration back, which should have been seen as a positive. Then they appealed the catch. Of course they're going to appeal it. They don't want it. Out of the two of them, they'd rather have the arbitration. So they're trying to say they don't run them together. But it's been delayed. So the hearing, I believe, is in September. Is it September 27th or something?
29th now. 29th.
Yeah. Right. So the back end of September. So it's been delayed by 2-3 months. But then let's look on the bright side. It'll run. So then they give a date for that now. I'm not a legal expert by no stretch of the imagination, but we've all learned enough over the last 18 months or so to realise that this CAT case doesn't have to run its entirety. It just has to get started and get made public. And then it's up to the greater minds than myself to say, right, how do we play this? Do we say, right, bang, first day we're going to launch all these things? And I genuinely believe they've got enough to not just embarrass Masters and Hoffman, but actually get them in jail. And this is to me, it's just my opinion, this is why they're delaying them. Now, again, there's a lot of recent negativity about PIF. If we get taken over, it might be someone else. Now, someone else might be bidding it. Now, we all want Ashley out anyway, so by hook or by crook, but not to the point it's going to be a Crystal Palace style. We don't know who owns us, or Burnley would lay us with debt. Sometimes the better the devil you know. And I'm not saying that to advocate Mike Ashley in any shape or form, so don't misunderstand that. But again, bit of perspective. I live out here and I do some work in Saudi Arabia. And I do speak to people who, I know I made a big clanger last year because I was reliably informed from someone who was a senior aide for I can't say what he is, but he's a government minister anyway. I sold it properly when I was working in Dubai. Again, and he rang me. I didn't ring him. He rang me and said, we're buying your football club's getting announced tomorrow. Now, of course, I got pelters for it, but I only shared what I was told, and I was quite clear that this is the information I was given. Don't shoot the messenger. However, looking back, the timeline suggests he was actually right. Now, knowing PIF, the picture you put on the flyer behind you there, that's outside the PIF building.
Lord HQ offices as well.
Yeah, that one, yeah. I tell you what, the PIF buildings aren't as impressive as Lord HQ, but did you know say how they're green at night during the day? And I kid you not, that the gold. There's 4 buildings and they actually shine gold during the day, and that's not me trying to be funny. That's genuinely true. So the PIF, the sovereign fund or whatever they are, but they have immeasurable amount of wealth. Now, again, let's get things into perspective. 300 million is a really small percentage of the money that they're holding or able to spend. So we're not number one priority to them. And they can wait. The whole of Saudi is built and geared up to 2030, the Vision 2030. That's what they're going for, where they're creating a new city, neon city and everything else. They want to be less reliant on oil. So that there's this buying into sports, buying into Disney's, buying into other things. It's to make the tourism's getting hugely increased there as well. So although Newcastle United's front and centre for us, it's not for PIF, it's not for the investors there, but it's an attractive proposition for them. Now, I was speaking to someone today, a good friend of mine back in Newcastle, and he says, like, well, what happens if they go and buy Man United? Well, first of all, surely the same problems would arise there.
Yeah.
But even if they did, imagine they're probably one of the only companies in the world that could afford to pay the asking price for Man United. Now, again, in living in this region, reputation is paramount. It's really, really important that you're seen in the right light. Now, by buying Man United, let's throw a figure at, say, 4 billion. Are you really going to improve them that much? And to a point where it's an investment. It's not a personal thing. It's not like I'm a Man United fan, I want to buy them. It's a personal thing. This is an investment. So that the betting with the heads, not with the heart, or the investing with the heads, not the heart. So let's say they improve Man United to the point where they get, say, 5 billion worth. Who's going to buy them for 5 billion? Who's got 5 billion spare to say, right, I'll buy them, but I'll look to sell it. Newcastle is the sleeping giant. It's something that can grow in conjunction with the Vision 2030. And we all know about the potential of Newcastle. And it's one of those that can say, yeah, we've took that club on. It's not a risk taken on Newcastle. The size of the fan base, we do have worldwide renownedness. Even here, I know people might say to you, who do you support? And you say Newcastle. Oh, sorry to hear that, but at least they've heard of us. At least they know who Newcastle are. And so that work was done a generation ago, and it's right now. I mean, we're joking about Manchester City buying 2 players for nearly the price of what we're asking for Newcastle. So to me, the opportunity is there. PAF. It's on the back burner of them. It's not like they're desperate for it. If the opportunity comes, they'll have it. And I still believe that. But the situation is getting the opportunity to come quickly. Now, they might move on, but this is not their last 300 million that they're sitting with saying, oh, we're waiting now for Newcastle. We're waiting. They don't need us at all. It's something that would add to their portfolio. And as I said before, the 300 million is a really, really small chunk of change for them. It really is. So, yes, we have to be sceptical. Yes, they keeps getting kicked down the road. Yes, we're all sick of waiting. But what we'll do, we've decided as a club to take it down the legal route, and rightly so, to challenge it. And let's hope that the legal system isn't as corrupt as what the Premier League is, or common sense prevails. And eventually, I still believe they're just trying to make us miss transfer windows constantly. So the other ones, because if you look at the fines that they got, that they're self-imposed fines, it's really damaged their spending ability, hasn't it? If you look at what the 2 Manchester clubs have spent, and for sure Liverpool will buy big, but Liverpool do it right. They'll buy a player that's going to improve it, not just someone for the sake of it. So that's my thought. The takeover. Yes, I still believe it'll happen. Am I 100% positive? No, not as I have been. But for every reason that people say no, there's no genuine reason to say it's not going to happen. It's, again, I think it's more just people getting weary or wary of it, or bored with it. It's
sick of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's become monotonous. Every social media outlet, it's a takeover, and it can grind you down, and it does grind people down, and it has ground a lot of people down. But ultimately, again, take a step back and look at it logically. What really has changed, apart from that the CAT case has been delayed for a few months? That's just my outlook.
I'd agree with Stu, and I'd be positive like yourself on the takeover front. And I just linking into Mitch's comment then from last week, and the worry he had is that maybe they'd look towards someone else, but and maybe like an AC Milan or someone like that. But I think they want to be in the Premier League. It's the biggest league in the world, and that's it links in with their vision, the 2030 vision that it'll put it on the map, I suppose, and with being in the Premier League. But anyone else want to get in on the comments from Stu there?
There's no other Premier League team that is valued for money like Newcastle. Like as Stu just said, if the Saudis were going to go and buy Man United, 2030 came along, they might be worth $5 billion. They've made it's cost them $4 billion. It's ridiculous. If they're spending 240 million of this 300 million on Newcastle, and with the development they can put in, the infrastructure of a training ground, and can we get back into the Europe and possibly Champions League within that 10-year span? How much is the profit going to be possibly on Newcastle? How much more money are they going to have made for a lesser investment? That's what you've got to look at. We briefly mentioned last week on that Talk Sport had Trevor Sinclair saying that Pitt could be looking at someone like West Ham. But the problem like West Ham is West Ham are worth double what Newcastle are worth. No, they're not. The stadium is a similar size, but they're worth double the money because they're in London. Yeah,
Richie, you're right. But the key thing is the I in PIF is for investment. Exactly. So these people are shrewd. They've been educated in the best places in the world, and the investment is you invest in something to make money. Now, exactly. West Ham, why would they invest in West Ham? You said yourself the prices in London are extortionate. West Ham aren't even in the top 3 clubs in London, and they wouldn't be. Yeah. You've got established clubs there, and I would say Arsenal, Chelsea, then Spurs. But even Spurs value themselves at $2 billion. That's just a joke.
I know. Many clubs in stadium which don't even own and debt laden.
That's it. It's a fantastic stadium and fair play for them to do it, but they've gambled. They've gambled on getting the Champions League money every year, and it's backfiring. Now they could be a huge casualty in all of this refinancing of football at the moment, and they more than anyone needed the CSL. But the investment side of it, Newcastle for half of what you could, because it's not just 300 million in Newcastle, there you go. There is the urban regeneration, but look what's happened to that part of Manchester. The jobs that's been created, not just for Man City fans, but for Man United fans as well. The infrastructure, the landscape, everything. Now, can you really do that in London? It happened for the Olympics in the West Ham area, around Stratford and Leighton and places like that. Walthamstow even. But for Newcastle itself, it would be huge, but also it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's about reputation. It would be a huge feather in the cap of the Saudi investors to say, yeah, we've helped do that. Even without saying it, people will know it. And they've watched maybe for too long, and I wouldn't even say with envy, but I would say, but they've watched what's happened with Manchester City through the Abu Dhabi investors and thought, you know what? We are the biggest in this region. We are the big boys in this playground in the Middle East. If they can do it, why can't we do it? But what we need is a club with a big support. In Manchester City, they get the knockers and stuff like that, but they were still getting 30,000 crowds in Sunderland's league, that the league Sunderland's in now, which was the old third division. So I think at the time, these people were going to buy us anyway, but Ashley took the huff because they turned up late for a meeting. So that could have been us, but we don't want to could have, should have, would have. We have to start looking forward. We can't change what's happened. And, you know, whether it's Nick DeMarco putting on a bread and splitting it correctly, or whether it's someone else saying it's definitely happening. People want to believe that, but they also now people tend to start believing it's not happening, and it's easier to be defeatist than optimistic. But leave it to the legal people. Ashley's not in this just for his compensation. Trust me, he's not. But he's in it to make money. And if these people buy it, well, don't make us want to do the same back. No, but he's in it to make money, and you can't knock the guy for that. He's a businessman who wants to make money. We can knock him for many things and how he's mistreated the club, but the neglect. But that's probably his biggest regret as well. Looking back, had he invested at the right times, you know, then we could have been up there. But he's honest enough to say he hasn't got the funds to compete with the big boys. But we could have been ahead of them anyway, and you know, we would have been generating the money that we are capable of globally, not just regionally. So I still think there's a huge. To me, there's optimism that this takeover can happen. Things have to fall in place for us, and things are out of our control. But you can only worry about what you can control. And if you can't control it, then what's the point in getting stressed about it? You know, if it's meant to be, we'll get it. And if we don't get it, what I'd really like to happen is a full expose on all the misdoings that's put in place. That's me on that takeover.
Yeah, I think I listened to a bit of the Amigos there from last week when I was out walking today, and I think Steve Hasty made a very good point. You know, the lawyers of the Premier League who got Bird and Bird are synonymous in litigation, delay, right? And they're playing every book and every rule book that they can do to kick this down the road. And he made a good point, which was the reason for that is, you know, Nick DeMarco and Newcastle, Mike Ashley, are literally trying to ride a stagecoach and the horses through the Premier League rulebook and effectively set up what happened many, many years ago with the Bosman ruling, which is, you know, if Newcastle win this and get it through and get the takeover, it changes the whole perspective of the Premier League rulebook in how ownership and ownership changes happen, are owned, what clubs can be sold, bought, and how that whole transaction works. So the Premier League, in his view, he thought that, you know, a lot of the delay tactics, you know, are around the factor of the Premier League are trying to protect the current rule book as it stands. Now, the other point he made was, you know, we talk about transparency and everything else with the takeover, but if there are issues, come out and tell people what is the issue so we can understand it, so we can go, okay, well, is it piracy? Is it about state ownership? Is it about X, Y, or Z? But come out and be open about that and go, here's the reason why it's with the litigation. Here's the reason it's at this point. It's because of this problem. And you can either
I think that's causing the frustration, Martin, isn't it? It's the from where we are, it's the lack of not knowing. You know, it's the unknown thing.
Exactly.
But what needs to happen is the egos need to get taken off the table, and we also have to be careful. When I say we, I mean our legal team have to be careful as well, because yes, they can go in with a cat, and it's almost a bit like blackmailing. We're going to deliver this, but that's what a low case is. You put your bit across, and they put their bit across.
Yeah.
But if they go too deep and rubbish the Premier League to the point where the brand is damaged irreparably, then would PAF say, oh, well, I want to be part of this irreparably branded?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's where negotiation comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you wreck it and they get exposed, but then, hang on, we want to be part of what's left of it. You know, so then the whole Premier League doesn't become as valuable as what it currently is, and it is a cash cow. But unfortunately for us, there's only 6 calves feeding of the milk at the moment. So you know, we need more udders, if that's an analogy we want to use.
I think the other point to that is, you know, if you look at, you know, again, to take your point, Stu, you know, it's with the legals and that. They're the only ones that are making anything out of this. And the current point, again, to take Steve's chat from the other night, like at the minute, the other 14 clubs, including Newcastle United, are the ones that are feeding the Premier League this money to fight the case against Newcastle United, because it's coming out of the Premier League's coffers. And that's for money that goes in from the other 14 clubs, let alone the top 6. So
comes in from us as well, yeah.
Exactly. So that 14, you would wonder, okay, forget about the greedy 6 at the top. We know what they're about. But for me, I just wonder at what point do the other 13, even if Newcastle are spending their money, or Ashley is spending the money, but the other 13 clubs in the Premier League, how are none of those standing up and going, whoa, hang on a minute. Why are you spending my money, Mr. Premier League Board, to fight arbitration with Newcastle United? Because you're costing us money to fight against one of our clubs. So why are you fighting? What's the problem? And that goes back to that point about letting people know what is the... Listen, if it's a problem about piracy...
I can answer that, Martin. I can answer for you in simple terms. It's very similar to sales. People buy things for 2 reasons, predominantly 2 reasons. One is hope to gain, and the second one is fear of loss. Now, if the other 13 teams back Newcastle, so to speak, and say, let them have their takeover, because there is such a divide financially in the league at the moment, we would then become one of the 7. That leaves them 13, which leaves them a smaller percentage chance of being out of the 13 and getting relegated. They're then 3 out, there's a 3 in 13 chance of them getting relegated at that stage. And if you break it down again, then you've got teams like Everton, Villa, etc., who are financially well backed at the moment. Financially well backed. That can change. But you then get down to a team of 6 or 7 who, if you look at the end of last season where we end up finishing 12th, it was like that bottom half that anyone could have went down within realistically. So half of them don't want another team taken out of that. If does that make sense? How I'm explaining that?
Yeah. You don't want to take out one.
And then obviously the big 6,
3.
the big 6, then they'll know. You've got to have some grain of common sense to do the jobs that they're doing. They'll know within 2-3 years that Newcastle will do a Manchester City. The backing will be there. It's just whether the management team and the players come in and buy into it. So that will then all of a sudden the 4 Champions League places become, hang on, there's only going to really be 3 or 2 if you guarantee Manchester City a place every season. So then Manchester United, can they spend enough to stay there every year? Or Liverpool going to, will Klopp keep these players running the knackers off for the rest of their careers? Will he burn out? Will people leave? And they all start doubting themselves, thinking, hang on, this Newcastle thing. So there's genuine reasons why each club won't want it to happen. But they'd like it to happen to them, but they don't want it to happen to someone else. And that's understandable. So there's another perspective there.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
Chris, you wanted to get in, I think, as well?
Yeah, do you know what, mate? I was just going to say, for me, I'm putting the takeover to the back of my head, and the positive I took from the date in September for the CAT case, or the Haven, should I say, is that we can focus on the football now, and we can put it to the back of our minds. But I like Stu and yourself, Daz. I do think it will go ahead, and I'm saying I do think it will go ahead. I'm hoping it will go ahead. I haven't lost faith in it, is what I'm saying. I did feel a little bit negative about it, but as Stu's just highlighted, and it reaffirms what we were all saying at the very start, Tottenham, if PIF, I'll use Tottenham as the example, if PIF came in and wanted to buy Tottenham for 2-3 billion, if they bought Newcastle tomorrow, they'd invest 500 million, say, on the pitch. They'd then invest, a few hundred million on, training facilities and stadium, and then started building around the city. It's a one club city. That the club could end up being worth 1, 2, 3, 4 billion anyway, and then we catch up with all the other clubs. And like Stu's already said, it's about the status, isn't it? And the fact that PIF haven't come out, that doesn't concern me whatsoever. If anything, I'm not expecting PIF to come out, because they won't, because they have officially walked away. And the reason that I believe that they're going to stay there is because at the moment they've walked away, when they said that they did. And they've basically, from what I understand or what I've heard, is they've told the club, listen, we'll come back to the table as soon as the deal's done. Let us know when we can get the deal done. We'll come back to the table and sign the document, and it's done. And until PCP and the Rubens come out and say it's over, for me, it's still ongoing, because they would have released that statement by now, I believe, and said, listen, we tried our best. Thanks to all the fans. Thanks to everyone involved. We've not been able to do it. It's game over. And the fact that there's still silence, to me, is saying that there are things going on behind the scenes. And, you know, you don't
bit of restructuring.
Yeah. You don't get the likes of DeMarco and Fatima in there, do you? Ashley's in it for the long game. What I wanted to ask you, Stu, and I know, well, it's not really going off topic, but it's just to kind of add a bit of extra information. I know that Ashley stood down from his role with Fraser Group?
No, Sports Direct.
Sports Direct. And I know he's passed it on, hasn't he, to his daughter's husband or his daughter's partner? Yeah. Do you think that there's any significance in that, Stu? I mean, I know that it made me laugh because it was all over the news, and I was thinking, God, we were doing protests and everything, and, you know, it wasn't making national news, and then he steps down from that, and everyone's on it. Do you think that's significant in any way, or is it just the fact that maybe he's thinking, do you know what, I've got a big...
I missed the first part of the question, Chris. Sorry. Who stepped down?
Mate. So Mike Ashley stepped down from...
from Sports Direct.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'll make just a prediction. It's not like I've been told anything, but I reckon I did predict the Willock will come this. Well, I know he's here, but hopefully they'll unveil him tomorrow. I think the early part of next week, Mike Ashley will come into Newcastle. As you've said, that he does it most times. You know, he comes in with a rallying call normally at the end of the season. With his list of promises. I promise I'll do this. I promise I'll do that. And we all go, yeah, okay, Mike, okay, you're forgiven. But I can see him doing it next, I would say the early part of next week, once it's announced, once he's done something positive. So let's go along and say Willock's the positive.
Yeah.
I think he'll come in, he'll roll his sleeves up, he'll say he wants to be more hands-on, he wants to have more communication, he'll be more transparent, and he will invest in the club. He still believes that the takeover will happen. He still believes it can happen, and he still believes that he wants the best for the fans. You know, the sound bites that we've had. To me, it'll just be one congealed statement, and this is what I'm looking for. I will put money in. I need to protect my assets, and I believe the fans, the city, the club. I could write this from good enough. The fans, the city, the club deserve more than I can give them. But until the legalities are out the way, you know, of course, I'll protect the asset and give investment. That's why I think he'll do that before the season starts. For many reasons. One, it'll sell more season tickets. Two, it won't make everyone happy, but it'll pacify a fan base that's been described as a tinderbox over the last week or so, and it'll give a positive vibe going into the game on next week against West Ham, where we've got a player in, we might have another player in, there could be someone else coming, and it shows all we've been asking for is we're going in the right direction. Now, whether that's a signing and a loan, who knows? But, you know, they have to be of a decent calibre. And I fully agree with Martin. If we have a switched-on Ross Barkley, someone focused, someone with a point to prove, I would love that. You know, because he can run games. It's whether he's got the desire now to do it. He did at Villa at the start of last season, but then seemed to track off a bit, didn't he?
The problem with Barkley is a lot of people think he's damaged goods, but he's not. Like 8 months ago, he was a full England international.
Yeah, he's more than capable.
It's a bit of a gamble, but like, fuck me, have we got anything else?
Well, no, he's better than anything we've got at the moment.
Absolutely.
So that's just what I think. I think Ashley will come out and give a rallying call, a call to arms, whatever you want to call it, and say, right, you know, we're in this together. I'll do my bit. Sorry this hasn't happened, but I still believe I've sold the club, but I need to protect it. There you go. Now, we all know he's only spending money that he's made. He's not spending his own money. He's spending the extra positions, the TV money and everything else. Yeah. But at least he's spending. And I don't want us to be a fan base that finds fault in anything. You know, otherwise, if it was you, you'd soon get sick of everything you do. You just get criticised for. You know, so ultimately you've got to say, right, if he is, let's see him to his word. He probably won't keep it. But this is what I think. I think he will come out next week. And I could be totally wrong. It's just an opinion. Before I start getting trolled and I was told I said this and this and that. It's just a personal opinion. But next week, let's see what happens.
I think this one from Billy Trey says it all. Oh, hang on. Stu Geller.
You never know. You never know.
That is a full house for you, Stu. That is, you're getting a bonus point as well to take you to 5. That's full of positivity. And yeah, hopefully those predictions you made come true this week. Especially
at least one of them.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
Yeah, you got that one. It was the bigot.
You were still sitting there doing it. I didn't want to mention it. Chris, apologise to your wife for me running your lecky bill up by shaming you to put the light on. I'm really sorry, mate.
I'll go and turn it off now.
Yeah.
Sorry, love.
we were chatting.
I won't do it
on,
again. He's not on next week. Sorry, mate.
We were chatting earlier on. Obviously, you know, you've given your view on Willock and anything else. Any other predictions from Mystic Stew? Anything else you think is possible, not possible? Anything, you know, obviously I know you know a few without giving your details away and everything else, because that's not my style nor yours. Anything else you think you may have, or anything you're hearing out your way, or anything you could slide in that maybe gives the last kind of final pieces of optimism before we bail out?
Yes and no. I mean, we all support Newcastle. This is why we're on this, and there's other good and not so good podcasts out there. But the common thing that unites everyone is that we all support the club and want the best for it. Yeah. Now, it's very easy to ridicule someone for being positive, but it's also at the same time you ridicule someone for being negative. And comes next Sunday, I've even took the day off work, because it's a 4 o'clock kickoff over here, 2 o'clock your time, and I'm working Sunday, so I've took a day off just so I can watch the game. And as soon as even before it kicks off, you get the butterflies, and you know, you're shouting and cheering, and that'll never leave you. You know, and the moment that does, then stop supporting, because you'll become a problem. It's like a bad apple, and it spoils the rest of it. You know, I've watched some horrific teams over the years, some horrific players over the years, and I'm trying to stay positive, but I can't see Joe Linton being a footballer, and I really hope I'm wrong with that one. But I would stop Fraser in the position when you're asking where to fit him in. I would put Fraser in that position. He can play wing back. He's done it for Scotland, and he knows the role. So sometimes we can cling on to things too much. Maybe I am about the takeover as well, but trying to turn Joe Linton into a Premier League footballer, glimpses isn't what we need. We need consistency. Oh, yeah. And he hasn't shown it enough. And then all of a sudden, he runs for 10 yards or 20 yards, or he does a straight pass for 30 yards or 20 yards, or he's headed a ball, or he's managed to control a ball well, you know, and everyone gets like really excited about it. That's his job, you know. So let's not get too carried away with it. Now, hopefully, every single player that pulls on the strings for us this season comes on leaps and bounds and changes from a 6 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10 or 7 to an 8, and they just improve it. But what we need as a fan base, but also at the training ground, they need some positivity. They need a bit more belief and a bit more just chill out a bit. You know, if you can't control something, then stop worrying about it. You know, but what we can do as a fan base is focus on supporting that team, and we'll all do it. We can always, you see people, I'll never go again, I'm never watching them again. It's a off-the-cuff, angry remark. It's you know, it's inside you. It's emotion. You know for a fact you'll still be watching the next game. It's like, how many times have you been really, really hammered, and the next morning you wake up, oh, I'm not drinking again. Guaranteed within 2 or 3 days, if not 2 or 3 hours, you're back on it. You know, it happens. You know, so we'll keep supporting Newcastle. Let's hope the team that go out next Sunday are well drilled. They know and they're fit enough. And they give West Ham hiding that they're capable of giving them. Now, we're not naive enough to think that we're going to win the league or anything like that. Just be committed, give our best, and let's hope that things go the way we want it off the field. That's out of our hands. What is in our hands is showing us as a fan base that we can stick together, and we are a force to be reckoned with. Because if and when this takeover happens, everyone will be, I've always said it was going to happen. I've always said it was going to happen. And if it doesn't, then I'll probably get blamed for, I don't know, what's the word, propaganda or something, you know. But ultimately, I want the takeover as much as anyone else does, and I think even the people who are criticising it want it. So I can't control it. They can't control it. Stop arguing about it.
Yeah, I think a fair point is
Sorry, Chris, you went off.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, whether you're pro, whether you're anti, whether you're not going to go, whether you're going to protest, whether you're not going to protest. Everybody's entitled to that opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And if you disagree with it all and you disagree with what we've spoken about tonight, that's your opinion. And that's fine. I accept that. If you agree with some of the stuff we've said and you like the show and you agree with what Stu's saying, and we're positive about takeovers and other stuff and Willock coming in, then, that's fine. If that's your opinion, then we appreciate that as well. There'll always be different opinions.
Martin, we've been rubbish. We've been rubbish for years and years and years. So if we don't get taken over, we'll have it. Well, it's like worrying about what you. It's like if someone, if you bet on a horse and the horse is 100 to 1 and you've stuck a tenner on it, you've lost a tenner. You haven't lost 1,000. You know what I mean? You've lost the tenner. Yeah. And so let's not worry what can be. If it happens, fantastic.
There's loads of talk about protest and everything else. Okay, do you know next Sunday, will it be full capacity, 52,500? Probably not. It'll be a good 44, 45,000. People will turn up, and it's the same as everything. Everyone at the minute has had their opinion, having a bit of a moan. And I would be the same. I said pre-coming on air, I'm not as confident about the takeover. I worry about Piff looking elsewhere. That's my opinion. And if it happens, listen, there'll be nobody more than me jumping around. Happy days. But the one thing I will do, even living in Ireland, and I know people are going, oh, well, I'm not going to go to the game. Do you know what? Sometimes I would say to you, lads, you don't realise how lucky you are when you live away from home and you're not living in Newcastle. Sometimes I will give my left leg just to go to St. James's, regardless of whether we're playing shit, because I just like to be there.
Lend it to Joe Linton, then.
Yeah, me and Joe Linton hanging out in Bambras, yeah. But I think we forget sometimes what we have, and I think people locally sometimes forget what they have. And certainly Daz is the same. We would love to get home more often and go to the games. I'm sure Chris is the same.
I am.
Stu, you're the same. But I'll support the team this season regardless. I've got the jerseys ordered. I'll order the away one. I'll still watch the match. I'll give out shit. I'll enjoy it when we win. I'll hate it when we fucking lose. But that's Newcastle, and it's been like that since I was a kid. And I'm not going to stop doing it just because of other shit that I don't control. And I think Stu makes very, very good points. So bring on next Sunday and let's go at them. And bring it on.
3-1, by the way.
3-1. I knew that one, Stu. I had it on the count. Lads, I'm going to bring it to a close. We're an hour and 20 minutes now. I just want to say to people, thanks for watching. Like and comment. And hit that subscribe button. And that button is at the bottom of your screen if you're watching back or watching now. That little loaded mag button, hit that, and that would greatly help us. We're heading towards 500, actually, getting there, getting close. Yeah. Get us to 500. Could happen this week. It'd be nice to have it happen before the season starts. So that's that message. Just want to give a shout out to Bruce in for all your beers.
Bruce in.
Yeah, go on, Chris. I always do it. You do it.
Yeah, go on, mate. So our good friend Bruce, who is in Centre Ale, which is located at Newcastle Central Station. He sells some fantastic craft ales, so get yourself down there. Next time you're in Newcastle, or if you are in Newcastle, just get yourself to the station. Go and have a word with Bruce. Tell him that you've been watching Loaded Mag, and we've sent you there, and I'm sure he'll do you a great deal.
That was perfect, Chris. Well done.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Cheers.
It's just to know you listen to the shows while we're actually doing them.
Just shout out then to people as well to tune in on Monday, because we've got something different coming on Monday. We've got a Loaded Mag fantasy football show. We're going to run it as a pilot, see how it goes. I'm sure we'll be talking about when we have our fantasy football league set up as well. Contact us and we'll give you the code. It's on Twitter. We'll be mentioning it on the night as well on Monday. We'll share it out to people.
Yeah. And I had looked at today. There's some cracking team names.
There is, yeah.
And really good team
of course,
names,
we'll be talking about the likes of Grealish, maybe Rondon coming back, as you said, Harry Kane, where will he end up? Messi, will he be in the Premier League? Yeah, topics we didn't really get to talk about tonight. And of course, Joe Willock, we know, as Stu has told us, tomorrow is D-Day. we'll give him a bit of leeway. We'll give him a few days either way. Once he arrives, Stu, I don't mind. But thanks, Stu, for coming on the show. Yeah,
No, my
loads of
pleasure, lads.
positivity. Everyone's going to go away and have a positive weekend now. Thanks to you, Stu. And great for everyone for joining us as well. And yeah, we have to dream up some new shows, lads. So we usually have a stack full there lined up. So we have to get planning again, and we might, as Martin said, we might check in with Liam Kennedy as well, see if he's around. But thanks everyone for watching, and have a good weekend.
Cheers,
guys.
No worries.
Bye,
Cheers,
everyone.
lads. Thanks, Stu. Good night, all.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.